Welcome to our Going Green podcast. We're going to have a look today at the Earthshot Prize coming up this week. And we thought we'd have a look at the finalists and we'd have a look at who we think ought to try and win this sort of prize in the different categories. So I'm Philip and this is Paul. And what we're going to do is have a look at each of the different categories. So the first of these is the idea of trying to protect and restore nature and the finalists. And we've got 3 finalists.
Yeah, there are. But would you like to know what the goal of this Earthshot?
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Yes.
And basically is, I'll read it. So, direct quotes, as they say, is they want to ensure, we choose to ensure for the first time in human history, the natural world is growing and not shrinking. We award the Earthshot Prize to the most outstanding efforts to meet this challenge. And then they talk about meet the finalists who's going to do this. And right.
But our basic idea is they're not giving prizes to organizations and things that are doing things great at the moment. These are things that need the money so they could grow and achieve something.
Yeah, so it's the Earthshot Prize is more of an investment package as opposed to sort of your organization who has a lot of money is doing wonderful and doing these things and here's a little top up of money. No, this is actually going to almost, I wouldn't say startups, but it's something to where it's to help their funding. If you get, say, this £100, not £100, £1 million, sorry. Not what you could do with it, but sort of, how much would that help you invest and change the world and all those sorts of things?
Okay.
So
our first area is, as I said, to protect and restore nature. And we've got some finalists, and you're going to tell us about what they are.
So we've got three finalists in all categories. So the first one, as you said, is the Pole to Pole Foundation. Basically, this is a gorilla sanctuary or a gorilla in the Dominican Republic of Congo. I think it's Congo. Might be Congo. I'll hold quick because it'll panic about.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yes, it's the Dominican Republic of Congo. They do say. Anyway, so they want to basically, they have a lot of problems out there with bushmeat. And so what they want to do is basically work up a way to sort of generate, I wouldn't say organic food, that's the wrong way to put it, but basically high protein meals
which are low cost,
so that they could cost or
it's going to make it better for them to eat that rather than to eat the bushmeat,
which is protecting the gorillas that are out there. So it's one of those things. So they've been doing their story. They've been working quite well, but they say basically they need to expand because, of course, they only work in a small area and of the, I wouldn't say where the forest is, right, where they are, but they basically need to expand their efforts to more other areas because they can use their blueprint to do so.
Okay. Right, so the next one is the Republic of Costa Rica, and they've got this idea that forests are home to half of our plants and animals, and we're getting rid of those. And what they're basically trying to do is come up with ways of trying to improve this. They're taking sort of urban areas, they're believing that they can sort of protect up to 30% of the entire world using their sort of system of trying to sort of basically restore ecosystems. I won't go through all the details, but it's quite a nice sort of system because they're trying to replace things with lots more plants which suck in all that carbon dioxide we're trying to get rid of and produce that lovely oxygen that we need to live.
Yeah, well, they've got a very good Neeta is Pura Vida, which is pure life. That's always a good start to a program. They have a good, a good sort of motto to go behind.
Okay.
And finally is a and I say an app, but it's basically natural nature restoration projects
Called Restore.
They basically is providing a network to actually help environmentalists, activists, funders, basically get the knowledge / the data information to actually conserve in your area. You know, the app provides what species of plant or animals should live in that area to help provide that information for policymakers and others. You know, so it's basically it's a glorified database, but it's one that helps the users, whether it be public, all those sort of things, in doing all their conservation efforts.
So, as far as I worked out, I felt it was like a Google Maps for nature.
Yeah, essentially, yes. Or at least they wouldn't like you to say that. But that's what they're basically saying.
All right, so we've got 3 projects. Then getting rid of bushmeat, getting sort of better sort of a system for forestation of urban and destroyed areas, and a database of who's doing what and where and how and why and what you can do.
So, right?
What's your thoughts?
Now, I understand what the app's trying to do, and I see that's quite right, and I see. However, it's one of those things where, like, but we've got that information. I know they're centralizing it to one place, but if you talk to the local people, surely that information's there. You know, it's sort of, these projects are already happening without that. So I'm not keen on the app.
Okay, so that's your third place.
That's my third place, if I could put it. And then it's the difference between the Republic of Costa Rica, who are doing these basically reforesting efforts, and basically the getting rid of the bushmeat.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I would put my 1 million, I'll get it right, £1 million. I could say $1 million.
Yeah.
Pounds. And I'm going to put it actually to the Pole to Pole Foundation, which is, of course, getting rid of the bushmeat, because it's not quite getting rid of the bushmeat. And you think, what? But that's their plan. Well, if you scale this up, surely you could get rid of other meats, where you have to do the other endangered animals. Surely
because it's this new food source that they're sort of pioneering, this sort of
and that's the reason I would get it over the
thing.
Over the Costa Rican government, because of course,
I have to say that I like the Costa Rica one, but I would still go for the Pole to Pole Foundation.
If you're going to make the most difference, if that makes sense, the who's going to have the biggest impact, I think it's going to be the Pole to Pole Foundation and protecting the gorillas.
Okay. Right. Our next category that they're looking at is Clean Our Air. And we've got another app, a blue map app produced. And tell me about this.
Well, would you like to know what the clean air category stands for first?
Oh, yeah, right.
And basically is they want to clean, as I said, clean our air. It's very self-explanatory, but they basically want we breathe it all in, and so they believe that we should breathe nice, healthy air rather than polluted stuff. Yeah, that's my fault. I thought you were going to go and do this bit. Anyway, so that's what they believe. So anyway, so back to this. This is the blue map app from China, or at least Mang Su, who's from China, and basically he wants to build an app to do micro reporting, if that makes sense, of air quality, so that a map essentially can be built up of the pollution around, I say around China, but at the same time they also want to spread it globally, almost through the Google Maps for air pollution, of what's happening and where things are going, so you can actually look at this map and then have the data of where the air pollution's happening, so that it can be then given to policymakers to decide what the hell is changing or what to do. So, yeah, it's one of the things where it is a good thing for where innovation can be used, but also for locating where bad places for pollution are to activate them. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
So the next one is Takachar, I guess. And that's about getting rid of a lot of agricultural waste. Every year, this world produces an enormous amount of agricultural waste. And farmers say, well, they can't sell it. And what they often do is they burn it. And of course, that's loads of CO2. And what this, well, I don't know if it's a guy or this organization
I think it's organization.
Yeah, around New Delhi, around there, they've sort of tried to look at all the problems there. They've got lots of smoke around New Delhi, and they're trying to work out what they can do. So he's developed a cheap, which is the important bit, small-scale, portable technology which attacks to a tractor and in a remote farm, and this machine basically converts all the crop residues into something that's sellable, a sellable bioproduct, which is basically like a fuel or a fertilizer.
Yeah, so think more a hay bale, but of well,
Other stuff.
other stuff. Yeah. So so that's what he wants to do, and which would help massively because of course, if you're not burning it, using it, then
Yeah,
that's all good, right? So the final one in this category is once again.
Good luck with the name.
I know. Once again from India, it is Vishna Unmashaka. Apologies for her name. And basically, in India currently, they do amazing thing. They do a lot of ironing. Now, critically, they actually do they power the irons by charcoal. Or basically, they burn the charcoal with the iron on top, and that's how you get your iron hot. And then once the iron's hot and everybody's ironed their clothes, they just dump all that charcoal, which is still burning, by the way, and producing all lovely carbon dioxide, which is bad. And so what she's done is basically said, you can power an iron with a solar panel, because an iron's not actually that hard to power. It doesn't actually take much energy. And so basically it is for 5 hours in the sun, she can power an iron for the 6 hours. So it's actually, the solar panel work produces more energy than the iron needs, other things. And so what they're saying is if she and the small little company she got can scale that up to produce,
she can sell lots of them to all these people.
All these vendors who are using the charcoal to heat up the irons. And suddenly she's removing approximately, what did he say here? It's something daft like 2 million tons of charcoal per year. And
that's not an insignificant amount.
And that's not an insignificant amount. And it's one of those things where, it's a solar panel, which is cheap. It's an iron, which is even cheaper. And it's powered by the sun, which is great. But it replaces this thing. So it's one of these things where it's actually quite a innovative solution to, and just think of all the air pollution they're cutting down. So it's
okay, right. So let's quickly go on because I look at how long we're spending on this.
Oh, I know.
Stop waffling.
Yeah.
Okay. So which one do you think ought to win?
The air pollution app is a great idea, and unfortunately, I'm not saying no to apps. I'm just saying
you don't like them. Yeah,
I don't like them because it's one of the things where they're not doing much. So that's third place, right? So then it's the difference between the portable tractor for agricultural waste or missing mobile iron, and it's really a hard one to say on these two, because it both work incredibly well. One's doing the solid waste or the agricultural waste, which is huge because they're burning it, whereas the other one also is dealing with the fact that vendors are just burning charcoal and then dumping the charcoal.
Given my choice,
Yeah.
I'd have given them $1 million to each.
Well, yes, but unfortunately they can't quite do that. But
so
the other,
you're going to go down with one of them.
You're going to go down.
Which one are you going to go for?
Who makes the bigger difference? You see, what draws me towards the is they've got a patent, they've got this tractor. They will make a huge difference anywhere, not just where they are, not just in China. They're going to make a huge difference. Not in India.
Yeah.
They're going to make a huge difference. You could take that else to other places and actually improve things. Whereas the iron carts, that can only work in India, where they do
lots of
these
sun, and they've got lots of basically an ironing system.
That's how they do it. But in looking at what would the £1 million do, and I must say is the fact that this guy's got a tractor, it's got patent, which is cost a lot of money. So he's already had a lot of investment in it. Whereas the ironing trucks, not that they have much investment, because they said it's got a huge, plans, and they're sort of building them as fast as they can get them, because obviously they're really cheap to build anyway.
Yeah. So come on, cut to the quick.
Cut to it's hard to say, but I'll give it to the ironing lady. The ironing, because of course it is that critical thing of the charcoal dumping.
And I went the other way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So our next one is all about reviving our oceans. And basically, we can sort of choose to repair and preserve our oceans for future generations. And basically, they're looking at what they can do here. And the first one is something called Coral Vita. And this is all about sort of trying to fix these sort of reefs. We're losing a load of our reefs. Sort of the numbers are horrific. Something like 90% of reefs are going to disappear by 2050. And that's a big problem. So what have these guys come up with?
So their little, like I say, their charity or their foundation or is basically trying to work with people or local officials and private investors in trying to basically get the funding for projects to restore the reefs around the world or around where reefs are for enough. And they've got I say a method, but they've got sort of a case study where they could basically have, if you can have a small single reef farm, they could basically, that reef farm could then help spread the reef and grow reefs across an entire country. But they just need, it's one of the things, they just need more money to kickstart the restoration.
Okay.
And so that's one of their things is it's basically they've got a special method that can grow coral reef 50 times faster.
That's the important thing.
That's the important bit. And so that's what they're doing. Basically, they're trying to grow coral reefs and then basically not flog it, but sort of put it in places where coral reefs are to help build up the coral reefs again.
Okay. Right. The next one is called Pristine Seas, which is a global ocean conservation program trying to avert catastrophes going on in sort of, oceans. And basically what they're trying to do is trying to fix this. So it's bringing together teams of expert scientists, filmmakers, policymakers, trying to protect 30% of our oceans by 2030, which is quite ambitious. And it's sort of produced already quite a lot of peer-reviewed scientific publications and documentaries, trying to put it out there for people to understand. So they've established 24 marine reserves worldwide, and if it succeeds, they might be able to save a lot of the oceans.
And finally, it's a project from Australia called Living Seawalls. And essentially, what they're doing is on sea defences. These are large concrete blocks. They're attaching basically small plaques to them, and these plaques represents natural rock formations, because obviously a smooth concrete block isn't a natural. And the fact that these plaques, which are molded, produce the environmental, the conditions of what the creatures are expecting, they can actually yeah, they're more likely to actually inhabit the sea defense rather than staying away because it's unnatural. And so effectively they can turn flat seawalls into not necessarily an ecosystem, but
Yeah, it is.
it
It really is
glorify it.
a little nice little place. Yeah.
And they can do sort of 64% more marine species on than flats. And they've been all over the world, from Sydney to Wales, Gibraltar, Singapore, basically wherever the sea walls and sea defences are. So
Well, it's around the world, yeah.
it's around the world. Right. So looking at the time, which one will you place your £1 million into?
Me, I'm going to go for Coral Vita because they can hopefully, with their system, get an awful lot of these coral reefs re-going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's their novel method. The 50 times faster is a massive difference.
Fantastic.
Right. So finally, let me just work out where the hell I'm going.
Okay, while you're doing that, right, to build a waste-free world. That's the next one. So basically, a world where nothing is going to go to waste. And these are various ideas about trying to stop all this waste. And the first one of these is the City of Milan Food Waste Hub. And that's the idea that a third, it was quite frightening when I read, a third of all food produced globally is wasted. And this is a system to try and make sure that some of that is going to be not wasted.
Yeah, and essentially, basically, it fights. Well, not fights, but basically, they make food supermarkets and companies, canteens, all those sorts of things. Basically, if you've got any waste or leftover food, will essentially not, I wouldn't say buy it from us, but basically on a reasonable, will buy the waste if you're throwing away. And basically we can then use it to feed, food charities, and people who need, food banks, those sorts of things, who need the food, who can't get it. And basically it's a way to reduce the food waste, because obviously if you use the food, leftover food, then you're not wasting it. So that it's basically, becoming a solution in regards to that much. And they are recovering about 130 tons of food a year, which is an estimated 260,000 meals. So you can see sort of, taking the excess food and using it, that's basically what they're planning to do.
Right. So the next one is Sanjani, which is basically a sanitation and waste management solution to our crisis, because basically we're struggling with more and more waste. And basically a lot of these emerging economics or the economies, basically, they're generating enormous amounts of waste, and they're trying to look at ways of trying to sort of get rid of this. So they're serving a whole load of population, they're removing all this waste, and what they're doing with this is they're producing from this organic fertilizer. They're using insect protein for animal feeds, and they're basically increasing the amount of fertilizer and sort of that sort of stuff available, so that we're not spending lots of money on other things. So it's already the world's largest recycling factory in Eastern and Central Africa.
Yeah. So what they also missed in that
Yeah.
is they use the waste, And basically, they use it to cultivate. I know you briefly said it, cultivate black soldier fly larvae.
Yeah.
Which is the making basically the insect protein powder, or
You're using the waste to feed insects, and then you're
insects,
using that insect to sort of feed
the people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, it was actually not just quite about waste. It's actually about using the waste as well.
Yeah. And finally, we've got Waterbox. Go on, then you can tell us about
right,
that.
I'll tell everyone. Basically, it's a small water treatment box, and you say, "Oh, that's fair enough." And he's got several filters and things to process water to make clean, drinkable water. No problem. But it's more designed to transform, I say, wastewater, but more grey water. This is things like water runoff. This is spillage. All those sorts of places where you've got not contaminated water, but water that's not necessarily fit for human consumption, but doesn't take much effort to make it into human consumption.
And sometimes this already been used when they've had sort of big sort of floods, when the water's no good, typhoons, earthquakes, you lose your water supplies, and then it's basically allowing this grey or dirtier water to be made fit and clean for people to drink.
Yeah. And so this project in regards to is actually to do not do for emergency cases, but could we do it for other places? We're talking about those not wells in Africa, but that's the wrong way, but sort of
It could be
for honest, but it's to do this because it uses, I wouldn't say natural processes, but it's very sort of low power filtration. It is using the filtration methods of purifying, as opposed to things like reverse osmosis, which requires a lot of power. So it's this low energy version of which is, it's all filtration, yes, sure, but it can run on the low power to actually go through.
Okay, so which one would you sort of give the £1 million to, Paul?
I'm going to give it to probably Sanergy. In regards to it's a unique product, it's a unique system, and if they could build another in, say, Western Central Africa, then they're expanding, and that could be sorting out problems for the next local residents there. So,
okay, yeah. And it just happens that I happen to totally agree with you on that one. And our final one is Fix Our Climate. Basically, this idea is, can we cut out the carbon? Can we sort of build a carbon neutral economy? And we've got three people three companies that are doing something about this. And the first one is the AEM Electrolyzer.
And they're sort of, it's a South Pacific island in regards to they built Electrolyzer. This is something that converts water into hydrogen gas from electricity, or basically water splitting, so basically creating green hydrogen. And basically what they want to do is they've actually built a modular system. So let's say where the splitting, or basically the recombination of the hydrogen and oxygen to form water produces electricity. They can basically run, I wouldn't say, instead of batteries, you've got a whole system where, depending on your power needs and your how much hydrogen you can generate, it can actually power from, we're talking from, kilowatts right up to megawatts of electricity. And so that basically they're a modular system where they can go out and basically replace things of batteries and all sorts of things. So it's a novel system. It's one of those things where that's where we're going for, and that's what we're trying to do. It's taking a lot of investment, but £1 million could be all the investment they need to actually put it into places where, instead of people looking to put batteries.
Okay. Right. Our next one is the Reedy capsules. And this is sort of basically, really, I suppose it's a battery and a solar panel joined together. It goes out to various people. What they do is they use their solar energy to charge up this lithium battery, which is sort of rented, and then they sort of take it to a shop, I suppose, and they basically exchange that full charged cell for an empty one, and then they can go and recharge it again. And they are basically collecting all this electricity, which can be supplied to give people and keep sort of other systems going. So it's a solar powered sort of little battery type of system, and not effective on its own, but when you've got thousands of these in action, it becomes a solution.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's not quite what you think in regards to. It's more about sort of if they can do the 12,000 households have this, they each put a solar panel and battery, then they've got an ecosystem where they're getting remote power generation into places that need the power. These are the cities. So you take power from the urban environment, pour it into the rural environment, pour it into the urban. I'll get it right eventually. And so basically, the can cost down not energy production, but the power production unit or the cost per unit by 30%, making electricity even cheaper, and also paying the rural residents money for giving and donating. Well, I say donating their power, giving their power.
So they get paid for it.
They get paid for it.
So it's win-win situation. And the last one is the Soul Bazaar. This tackles a problem that I hadn't appreciated, that 1 billion people across the world have no electricity whatsoever, and therefore they have to use other forms of energy creation, like burning sort of charcoal,
or
wood.
Even the mobile generators.
Yeah, they've got nothing. And so this is a Bangladesh based system, and whereby they're basically making a sort of a peer-to-peer energy exchange network. Homes put a roof top solar panel on, and they sell any excess electricity into a micro grid. Now, in this country, in Britain, we have a national grid where all the electricity from everywhere goes to, basically everywhere. But many countries don't have that. And this is starting to build a small little microgrid to pass electricity round, so that a lot of people who don't have electricity can.
Yeah, so the critical thing is they're basically doing what we did in the UK a while ago, which is nothing. They're basically a feed-in tariff. Basically, if you don't use that much electricity, you can buy a panel connected to their grid, and so therefore you're getting paid, or the residents getting paid, to produce someone else's electricity down the line. So it's quite an innovative system in creating these microgrids, but it can actually help basically form communities where you've got people generating power versus people who are using the power. Once again, it's the same solution, very similar solution to the one we just read earlier about the Reedy capsules. So
go on then. Where are you going to put your money?
Where am I going to put money? Honestly, it's one of those things I would like to see the electrolyzers get it, but at the point at which it's there, they're getting there, that can just slowly develop. I'm actually thinking probably nearer the Soul Bazaar in regards to putting it, which is the microgrids, because of course it is helping the rural. Now, as I said, I believe all the finalists should actually get the £1 million because they're all pretty worth it in regards to the stuff. But you've got to put your money where your mouth is, or the non-money where my mouth is. And so I'm going to put it with the Soul Bazaar. How about you?
I fancied the electrolyzer. Well, we'll find out on Sunday which one will actually win, or which one of these, and we'll see whether we got it right, or perhaps whether
or we agree, or shall we say, we agree with the experts, the Earthshot Council, in what should make the biggest change in the to the climate, to the Earthshot, and what will change our world over the next 10 years.
So there we are. We've got some of our ideas of what we're going to try and do. So that's the Earthshot Prize. Next time, we're going to have a look at a simple answer to a very difficult question. And the very difficult question is, how do you heat your house? And what we're going to try and do is come up with some good ways that you can perhaps use green ways of trying to improve your house. So until then, thank you for listening. And it's goodbye from me, Philip. And it's
I say it's a goodbye from him or something daft like that, but it's a goodbye from me anyway.
take care. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.